I'm 76 years old, and I need to tell you something that will sound completely backwards. Playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do with your life. I know, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like something a motivational poster would say. But I need you to listen to me carefully, because I spent 72 years believing the exact opposite. I spent my entire existence following every rule, avoiding every risk, choosing the safe path at every single crossroads. And now I sit in this quiet house surrounded by the echoes of a life half lived, and I realize the horrifying truth. Safety didn't protect me, it suffocated me. It was a slow, silent death sentence that I signed myself, one careful decision at a time. The moment I understood this, truly understood it, wasn't during some grand revelation. It wasn't a heart attack or a near-death experience. It was something much quieter, much more devastating. It was 3 years ago. I was sitting at my wife's funeral, Margaret, 51 years of marriage, and as the pastor spoke about her life, about her kindness, about her love, I looked around that church and I saw something that shattered me. The pews were half empty, not because people didn't care about Margaret, but because we had spent our entire marriage playing it safe. We didn't make waves, we didn't join clubs, or travel to distant places, or invite strangers into our lives. We kept our circle small. We kept our world small. We kept everything safe. And in that moment, with the organ playing softly and the rain tapping against the stained glass windows, I realized I had made the biggest mistake a human being can make. I had confused existing with living. Let me take you back. Let me show you what 70 years of playing it safe actually looks like from the inside. I was born in 1948 to parents who survived the Depression. My father worked the same factory job for 43 years. My mother never worked outside the home. The message I absorbed from the moment I could understand words was simple. Don't take risks. Get a stable job. Keep your head down. Don't make waves. And I listened. God, did I listen. In 1970, I had a chance to do something different. I was 22 years old, fresh out of college with a degree in accounting. But I had this dream. I wanted to open a small restaurant. Nothing fancy, just a little Italian place. I had learned to cook from my grandmother, real old country recipes that made people close their eyes and smile. My best friend, Tommy DeLuca, came to me with a proposition. His uncle had a building downtown. The rent was cheap. Tommy said he'd handle the business side, I'd handle the kitchen. We'd be partners. I still remember the night we talked about it. We were sitting on the hood of his Chevy, passing a bottle of cheap wine back and forth, looking at the city lights. Tommy was so excited. His eyes were bright. He said, "Danny, this could be our thing. This could be our legacy." And you know what I said? I said no. I told him it was too risky. What if it failed? What if we lost everything? I had a job offer from an insurance company, steady paycheck, benefits, a pension plan. I told Tommy I couldn't gamble my future on a restaurant that might close in a year. Tommy went ahead without me. He found another partner, and that little Italian restaurant, it became a local institution. It ran for 38 years before Tommy retired and sold it for more money than I made in my entire career combined. But here's what haunts me more than the money. Tommy lived. He knew every customer by name. He hosted weddings and anniversaries and first dates. He created a place where memories were made. When Tommy died last year, 700 people came to his funeral. 700. the line wrapped around the block. I went to work at that insurance company. I sat in the same grey cubicle for 41 years. I processed claims, I attended meetings, I got my promotions, my raises, my steady paychecks, and when I retired, they gave me a watch and a handshake. That's it, a watch and a handshake. 41 years of my life, reduced to a piece of metal on my wrist. But it wasn't just the restaurant. That was just the first crossroads where I chose fear. In 1974, I met a woman named Catherine at a friend's party. She was extraordinary, a photographer who had traveled to 30 countries. She laughed like she meant it. She talked about moving to Paris to study art. Everything about her was alive in a way I had never experienced. I was mesmerized, and I'm certain, even now, 50 years later, that she felt something too. She gave me her phone number. She said, "Call me, Danny. Let's have an adventure." I never called. Why? Because I had already started dating Margaret. Margaret was safe. Margaret was predictable. Margaret was exactly what my parents would approve of. Don't misunderstand me. I loved Margaret. I truly did. She was a good woman, a kind woman. We had a decent marriage, but there's a difference between a decent life and a full life. And I've spent the last 3 years wondering what would have happened if I had been brave enough to call Catherine. Not because Margaret was wrong, but because I chose her for the wrong reasons. I chose her because she was safe. I chose safety over possibility, over adventure, over the unknown. And I did this again and again and again. In 1983, I had an idea for a business. Personal computers were just becoming available to regular people. I saw what was coming. I told my brother-in-law, someone should create a company that helps regular people learn how to use these things. Training courses, simple instruction manuals. He laughed at me. Computers are a fad, Danny. Nobody's going to need training for a fad. And I believed him. I let the idea die. 10 years later, I watched other people build empires doing exactly what I had imagined. Computer training centers, software tutorials, businesses worth millions. But by then, I was too old, too scared, too comfortable in my grey cubicle. In 1991, Margaret and I had a chance to move. A friend of mine had retired to a small town in Vermont. He wrote me letters about the mountains, the clean air, the tight-knit community. He said there was a house for sale next to his. He said we could start over, live somewhere beautiful. I looked at Margaret. She was excited. For the first time in years, I saw that light in her eyes. But I said no. What about my pension? What about the kids' schools? What about everything we'd built here? We stayed. We stayed in the same house, on the same street, in the same town. We stayed until there was nothing left to stay for. Now, I'm going to tell you something that will be difficult to hear. Everything I just described, those aren't stories from the past. Those are chains I still carry every single day. At 76 years old, I lie awake at 3 a.m. and the memories come flooding in like water through a broken dam. I think about my son, Michael. He's 50 now. Good man, good father. But we're not close. We never were. Because I was always working, always at that grey cubicle, always choosing the safe path of providing money over the risky path of providing presence. When Michael was 12, he wanted me to coach his baseball team. I said I was too busy. When he was 16, he wanted us to take a road trip together, just the two of us. I said maybe next summer. When he was 18, he left for college, and I realized I didn't know him at all. I had spent his entire childhood in the same house, but I had missed everything. I was there, but I wasn't present. I was physically safe, but emotionally absent. And now? Now, Michael calls once a month. We talk about the weather. We talk about sports. We don't talk about anything that matters because we never learned how. That's what playing it safe cost me, my son. I think about my health too. I spent 41 years sitting at a desk because standing up, because doing anything physical seemed risky. What if I got hurt? What if I overexerted myself? So I sat and I sat and I sat. Now my back is ruined. My knees are shot. I can barely walk to the mailbox without resting. The doctors say it's just age, but I know the truth. It's not age. It's decades of choosing comfort over vitality. Decades of being too scared to push myself. I played it safe with my body, and my body betrayed me anyway. The safety was an illusion. And you, yes, you, watching this right now, you're doing the same thing I did. I can see it. You're staying at the job you hate because it's stable. You're staying in the relationship that's good enough because starting over is terrifying. You're not pursuing your dream because what if it doesn't work out? You're telling yourself you have time. You're telling yourself you'll take risks later. You're telling yourself that someday, when the conditions are perfect, you'll finally live. Let me tell you something with all the weight of 76 years behind it. The conditions will never be perfect, and someday never comes. Do you want to know how many Saturdays you have left? Let me do the math for you. If you're 30 years old and you live to be 80, you have approximately 2,600 Saturdays left. That's it. 2,600 opportunities to do something meaningful with your weekend. 2,600 chances to make a memory. Now subtract the Saturdays you'll spend working, the ones you'll spend sick, the ones you'll spend too tired to do anything but sit on the couch. What are you left with? Maybe 1,000 Saturdays that actually matter, maybe less, and you're spending them being safe. You're spending them waiting. 3 years ago, after Margaret's funeral, I sat in this empty house and made a decision. I was done being safe. I was done waiting. Even if I only had a few years left, maybe a few months, I was going to finally live. I started small. I called Michael, not to talk about the weather, to apologize, to tell him I was sorry for every baseball game I missed, every road trip I declined, every moment I chose work over him. He cried. I cried. We talked for 3 hours, real talk, the kind we'd never had. It was terrifying. It was the riskiest conversation of my life, and it was worth every second. Then I took a trip, alone. At 73 years old, I got on a plane to Italy, the country my grandmother came from, and I spent 3 weeks wandering through villages I had only seen in photographs. I ate food that made me weep. I talked to strangers. I got lost a dozen times, and for the first time in 73 years, I felt alive. I started saying yes to things that scared me. I took a painting class, even though I was terrible. I joined a hiking group for seniors, even though my knees screamed at me. I wrote letters to old friends I had lost touch with, even though I was afraid they wouldn't write back. Some of them didn't, but some of them did, and those reconnections have become the brightest spots of my final years. Here is what I want to leave you with. You have 2 paths in front of you. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep playing it safe. You can stay at the job, in the relationship, in the life that feels comfortable. but not alive. You can tell yourself you'll take risks later, and maybe you'll be fine. Maybe you'll live a long, uneventful life and die peacefully in your sleep. But you will never know what you were capable of. You will never know who you could have become. And in your final moments, you will not regret the risks you took that failed. You will regret the risks you never took at all. Or you can wake up today, right now. You can make the phone call you've been avoiding. You can quit the job that's killing your soul. You can tell the person you love how you really feel. You can book the trip, start the business, write the book, chase the dream. Will it be scary? Yes. Will you fail sometimes? Absolutely. Will you get hurt? Probably. But you will be alive. Truly, completely, undeniably alive. I don't have much time left. The doctors don't give me numbers, but I can feel it in my bones. The clock is winding down, but here's what I want you to understand. I'm not afraid anymore. For the first time in 76 years, I'm not afraid, because I finally started living. Late, too late, but I started. Don't wait until you're 76. Don't wait until you're sitting in an empty house, surrounded by the ghosts of choices you didn't make. Playing it safe is a death sentence. A slow, quiet, invisible death sentence. Choose life instead. Choose risk. Choose adventure. Choose to be brave. The clock is ticking. It always has been, but it's not too late for you. Go. Live. Now. If this message reached something inside you, share it with someone you love. Leave a comment telling me what risk you're finally going to take. And subscribe, because I have more truths to share, and neither of us knows how much time we have left. Safety is an illusion. Living is the only real security there is.